All right, let's talk about a number you've almost definitely heard of if you've ever thought about retirement. It's probably the most famous number in all of personal finance. But here's the thing. For how famous it is, it's also one of the most misunderstood. So today, we are going to pull back the curtain and demystify the 4% rule.
You know, everything really boils down to this one simple but incredibly high-stakes question. After a lifetime of saving and investing, how do you actually turn that nest egg into a paycheck? A paycheck that you can count on year after year without the terrifying fear of running out of money.
So picture this. It's the early 1990s, and a financial planner named William Bengen is just fed up with the vague answers he has to give his clients about that very question. He decided there had to be a better, data-driven way. So he dug into decades of historical market data, crunched the numbers, and in October 1994, he published a paper that would literally change retirement planning forever.
And this was the magic number that came out of all that research, 4%. It just sounds so clean, so simple, and it spread like wildfire. This became the answer, the rule of thumb that millions of people would build their retirement dreams on. But was it the right answer?
Well, here's the twist, and it's a big one. The way most people hear about and repeat the 4% rule is just flat out wrong. The common wisdom, the thing you hear at cocktail parties, is actually a myth, and not understanding the difference can have some pretty serious consequences.
Okay, this is the single most important slide. The myth is that you check your portfolio balance on January 1st every year and withdraw 4% of whatever it is. That means your income would bounce up and down with the market. The reality, what Bengen actually wrote, is totally different. You only use that 4% calculation one time in your very first year of retirement. After that, the percentage, well, it kind of becomes irrelevant.
So let me just walk you through how it really works. Let's say you retire with $1 million. Step 1, you take out 4%, so that's $40,000 for your first year. Easy enough. Now step 2, a year goes by, and let's say inflation was 3%. You do not look at your portfolio balance. Instead, you take last year's $40,000 and give it a 3% raise. So your new withdrawal is $41,200, and you just keep repeating that process, always adjusting the dollar amount from the previous year.
You know, the absolute easiest way to think about this is that you're giving yourself a cost of living adjustment, or a COLA. It's the exact same thing Social Security does every year. You're building an automatic raise into your retirement plan to protect your spending power. And that's because Bengen knew exactly who the real villain of the story was.
He called it the greatest enemy of retirees. Inflation. It's that quiet, relentless force that just eats away at your savings. His entire rule wasn't just about finding a safe number to withdraw, it was about creating a system designed to fight that enemy head-on.
And boy, have we all felt just how powerful that enemy can be lately. I mean, look at this. In the summer of 2022, inflation was raging at 9%. Just over a year later, it had cooled off to 2.7%. When you're not getting a paycheck from a job anymore, that kind of volatility is exactly the kind of thing that keeps you up at night. This is what the rule's designed to smooth out for you.
Okay, so this brings us to a really important question. Bengen came up with this in the 90s, based on data going back to the 1920s. But we live in a different world now, with different risks. So after everything we've been through, does the old rule still hold up?
Well, here's the cool part. Bengen never stopped running the numbers, and with decades of new data to work with, he's actually updated his findings. He now says that, based on history, the highest possible safe withdrawal rate isn't 4%, it's actually a little higher, 4.7%.
He gives us a name, the Universal Safe Max. In simple terms, it's the highest starting withdrawal rate that would have successfully lasted through every single 30-year period in U.S. history. But, and this is a huge but, it only works if you stick to a very specific set of assumptions. You have to know what those are.
So both the original 4% and this new 4.7% number depend on these 5 things. You're planning for a 30-year retirement. You're okay with your account hitting 0 on your last day. You have a pretty standard 60-40 portfolio of stocks and bonds. You rebalance it every year. And all this money is in something like an IRA or a 401k, so we're not talking about taxes here. If you change even one of these, the math changes too.
And here is the giant asterisk on all of this. These are fantastic insights, but they are all based on looking in the rearview mirror. It tells us what worked in the past, and while that's incredibly useful, we all know it's no guarantee of what will happen in the future.
Which really brings us to the main point of all this. You shouldn't look at 4% or 4.7% as some unbreakable law of physics.
The best way to use these numbers is as a super well-researched, intelligent starting point. It's where the conversation about your plan begins, not where it ends.
To figure out your own personal safe withdrawal rate, you've got to consider your own life. Are you hoping for a 40-year retirement? You'll probably need to start with a lower number. Is leaving a big inheritance a major goal? Well, then you can't plan to end with zero, so you have to take less. How aggressive is your portfolio? And really importantly, what's the market like on the day you retire? If stocks are incredibly expensive, history tells us it might be smart to be a little more cautious.
So in the end, the 4% rule isn't really a rule at all, is it? It's more like a powerful guidepost. It's a brilliant solution to a universal problem, but the final answer has to be deeply personal. So the real question it leaves us with is this: now that you know how it really works and all the assumptions baked into it, what's your rule going to be?